The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.
We're so excited. Dr. Francis Collins, who's a very, 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 very top of the ladder guy at the National Institutes of Health, is here, the director. We're so lucky to have you here, Dr. Collins. Thanks for coming on with us this morning.
Well, thank you. Gosh, top of the ladder. I hope it don't fall off. It's nice to be here with you, Elvis.
It's a long way down.
Elvis, has he read all the books behind him? I'm just...
I have read most of those. This is my home office in Chevy Chase. I've been kind of working as the head of the National Institutes of Health from my house for the last 12 months. And I am really glad to be getting out of here soon because these four walls are getting a little bit tight.
Well, we all feel the same way, Dr. Collins, and the fact that summer is here, people are ready to, as they say, they're saying they're vaxxed and they're waxed and they're ready to party. The thing is, a lot of people who listen to our show have not been vaccinated yet. So let's start. Let's talk about how we can get that to go away.
Yeah, let's do that because we are in this amazing place where we have vaccines that have been proven safe and effective in tens of thousands of people in trials and now have been administered to over 150 million people in the United States. And they are working great. And you can see how that's working out. All 50 states now showing cases are dropping. But the way to really drive this virus away and have it not come back again in various hotspots is to get all of us vaccinated. And that includes young people who may think of themselves as maybe not as vulnerable, but young people can still get pretty sick with COVID. And another thing we're learning is even those who don't get very sick sometimes don't get better. There's this long hauler problem, and that applies to young people too. On top of that, if you're a young person and you do get the virus, you can still spread it to other vulnerable people. So I guess I'm trying to make a case here. Those of you who have not yet gotten started, there's about 100 million American adults who haven't yet gotten that first dose. This is the time to do it. Go to vaccines.gov and you can find out how to start today.
If anyone was saying, well, I kind of want to wait and see how it goes, I think we see how it goes with over 100 million people already vaccinated. And for a while, it's been this way. I know we've been vaccinated for a long time. We're great. I mean, psychologically, we're still as demented as we were before the vaccines. But
true.
Nobody will disagree with that.
It's true. Danielle had a question for you, Dr. Collins.
Yeah, I have a question. I have two kids, of course, 16 and 12. And the vaccine for the kids is like the newest thing to pop up. And the question that a lot of my friends have had is they hear it could cause infertility when they get older. And that is, obviously you don't want that to happen. So that's something that is bothering them.
Yeah. Well, thanks for raising the question. And I think we should be listening to people's questions and not just lecturing them, although sometimes I'm accused of that. So yeah, this is an issue. I can be very reassuring here. There is absolutely no data to suggest that any of these vaccines are contributing at all to any risk of infertility. That kind of got out there on social media as if it was a real risk. There's no data to support that. In fact, because people have been getting immunized since last summer as part of the trials, if this was a serious issue, we would know it by now. So relax, everybody. This is not going to make you infertile.
Okay.
And by the way, kids are great. My granddaughter is 14, and she just got her first dose 3 days ago, and she was thrilled because now that means she can go back to doing sleepovers and think about going back to school in person in the fall. This is liberating for all those adolescents who have had a pretty rough year being sequestered off in their bedrooms.
Dr. Collins, I've also heard that it is safe. It's not safe for women who are pregnant or nursing. What is the data on that state?
Another good question. So there have been no rigorous studies on pregnancy, but there have been 35,000 women who got immunized during pregnancy as part of what's been going on in the U.S. since December. And there's absolutely no indication that any harm at all has occurred. In fact, let me also say, if you're pregnant and you get COVID, you're likely to have a fairly severe time of it. And that would be something you'd really like to avoid. On the other hand, if you get vaccinated, you are also giving those antibodies to your baby. That's your mama's first gift to the baby is immunity to COVID, because that gets passed through the placenta and in breast milk. So there's lots of reasons to think about doing this positively. Pregnant women should talk to their OBGYN doc and be sure there's nothing there they're concerned about. But there's at present time no evidence to worry about this. Likewise for breastfeeding.
Oh, thank God, because I have to breastfeed after this interview. And I was worried. And I feel better now, Dr. Collins. Dr. Collins, by the way, is with us, Dr. Francis Collins from National Institutes of Health. He's the director. And we're talking about how we need to get you vaccinated if you haven't done so already. We can do this. That's what it's all about. Scary, did you have a question for Dr. Collins?
I just wanted to know, when you speak of efficacy and percentages and stuff like that, could you explain a little bit about how it keeps, people from death and from, being in the hospital from that point?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of confusion out there on that.
So the way in which the trials were run, and the vaccines had to be tested on at least 30,000 people. Half of them got the vaccine, half of them got a dummy injection, and they didn't know which one it was. And you could then assess by watching over the course of a few months what happened, how much protection was there. For the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, the ones that are primarily being distributed right now, that was 95% protection against any symptomatic illness. And it looks as if probably pretty close to that from even being a person who carries the virus. The protection against hospitalization was close to 100%. These are incredibly good vaccines, better than we almost dared to hope when we were designing them a year ago. So this has turned out remarkably well. This is our gift that we've now been given, but people have to unwrap the gift. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just sitting there.
Do we know how long the gift lasts? Like, how do you find out when your antibodies are no longer there and you need to get a booster or something?
A booster.
Yeah, good question again. So we are watching people to see what happens in terms of the fading of the antibody response. It's looking pretty good so far. After 6 or 7 months, which is about the most we've been able to watch lots of people, the antibody levels are still quite in the protective zone, maybe drifting down a little bit. The other question about boosters, though, is these variants that are popping up in various parts of the world. Some are here in the United States. Will we eventually see a variant that is so different than the original Wuhan virus that the vaccines won't work against it anymore? Hasn't happened yet. Right now, all of the variants you're hearing about, including the one in India, our vaccines look as if they work well enough to protect you against those. But we're going to watch. So I can't tell you whether we're going to need boosters or not, and if so, how soon. It's certainly something to watch and be prepared for in case.
Masks versus no masks. We hear, hey, if you're, it seems like it's a world of fast pass and good things for people who have been vaccinated. Is it really a world where, okay, masks be gone if you've been vaccinated, but not, you need to keep it on? Is that another incentive people need to get vaccinated, get rid of those masks?
It sure is. And I think increasingly businesses are going to be asking you whether you're fully vaccinated. And by the way, that means you're 2 weeks after your last dose. You've got to have that full time interval kick in before you can say, okay, I'm ready to take the mask off. And in that situation, you're basically protected and you are safe outdoors and indoors, as long as you're not in a very close quarters with a lot of other people whose status is not known. So yeah, one more reason. You can be liberated if you can get the vaccines in your system, and then you can start to take advantage of all the things that maybe are going to be somewhat restricted in terms of whether you have that vaccine or not. Certainly that's going to be true of international travel, but I suspect it will be also true of sports events. So even if you were not otherwise convinced to do this for your own health, which I hope you would be, here's another reason to roll up your sleeve.
Dr. Collins, I'm so happy you're here today. I bet a lot of people listening to this are going to go, okay, today's the day. What do I do? Where do I go? What's the fastest way to find out where I can hop in the car and get jabbed immediately? Okay,
I'll give you 2 ways. One is just by texting. If you text your zip code to this number, 438829, let me say that again, 438829, type in your zip code, you will get back within a minute the location and phone number of 3 different facilities that are within a few miles of you that have vaccines in stock and are ready for you to walk in and get going. So that's one way. The other is go to vaccines.gov on the internet. That will also give you that same kind of information plus a lot of background. Either one should allow anybody listening to this, if you're interested, to get vaccinated within the next day.
By the way, that number he gave to text with your zip code, I just looked at my phone. It spells Get Vax.
What do you know? Exactly.
See those little letters on your number?
I see what you did there.
I see what you did there, Dr. Collins. You're a slight Again, text your zip code to 438-829. That's Get Vax. Send your zip code there, or go to vaccines.gov. Dr. Collins, thank you so much for your time today. And everyone, get out. Let's go. Yeah. Let's all get vaccinated so we can just forget what masks should only be on Halloween. That's what we all think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's kick this virus's butt. And the way to do that is get your vaccine, all of you. No reason to hold back now. They're safe, they're effective, they work, and they're going to be our best pathway towards actually living a normal life again. And don't we want that? I sure do.
Yep.
Yes. I'm going to get back to being abnormal again. So thank you again. The Director for National Institutes of Health, Dr. Francis Collins, you have a beautiful day, and thanks for your message today. We appreciate it.
Thank all of you for getting the message out there. We can do this.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.